So here we are again, General Hospital and its absolute lack of security. It never fails to amaze me. You would think a hospital that constantly houses mobsters, spies, and serial killers would invest in some better locks. But no. And now Ross Cullum is paying the price. Or maybe he is getting exactly what he deserves. It depends on how you look at it. Cullum is lying in the ICU. He just survived a gunshot wound to the back. Rocco Falconeri pulled the trigger. Jason Morgan took the fall. Jason is currently rotting in WSB custody, taking the blame so a teenager doesn't have his life ruined. And Lucas Jones, the man grieving his murdered boyfriend Marco Rios, was the one who operated on Cullum and saved his life. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a scalpel. Lucas saved the man who stabbed Marco to death. But Cullum's survival was always going to be temporary. We all knew that. We just didn't know who was going to finish the job. Jocelyn Jacks tried. She snuck into the room. She was ready to do it. But Lucas interrupted her. Britt Westbourne had a syringe ready too. Lulu Spencer interrupted her. It seems like everyone in Port Charles wants Cullum dead. But the guy who actually gets it done? Pascal. Yeah, Pascal. And you have to hand it to Pascal. He is not playing around. We always thought of him as just a background guy, the lackey, the guy who checks the safe at Windermere and reports back to Cullum, the expendable one. But he is not expendable today. Today he is the main event. Pascal realizes that Cullum is a massive liability, or maybe Jen Sidwell gave the order. Sidwell is on a warpath right now. Marco is dead. The grieving father wants blood. And maybe he realized Cullum was the one who spilled Marco's blood. Or maybe Pascal is just tying up loose ends for the Cold Fusion project. Whatever the reason, Pascal decides to take matters into his own hands, and his plan is actually pretty brilliant. He doesn't just sneak in wearing a hoodie. He goes full theatrical. He disguises himself as a renowned surgeon. He gets the scrubs. He gets the white coat. He probably forged a badge. And he just walks right in. Because that is how you do it in Port Charles. You just walk in. You act like you belong there. Pascal strides down the sterile white hallways of General Hospital, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Nurses rushing past him with clipboards. Doctors arguing over charts. Nobody looks twice at a guy in a white coat walking with purpose. Pascal has that purpose. He is a man on a mission, a deadly mission. He knows exactly where the ICU is. He knows the layout. He probably studied it. He knows there are cops stationed outside Cullum's room, because, of course there are. Cullum is a high-profile WSB director who was just involved in a massive shooting on Pier 55. But cops in Port Charles are notoriously easy to bypass. Pascal probably just flashes his fake badge, mutters something about needing to check the patient's vitals, and they let him right through. Just like that, the illusion of safety shatters in a second. So Pascal is in the room. The door clicks shut behind him, the heavy, soundproof door of the ICU. It is quiet in here. Just the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor, the soft hiss of the ventilator. Cullum is lying there in the bed. He looks so vulnerable. This big, bad WSB director, the man who terrorized Britt, the man who smashed her Huntington's medication under his shoe, the man who stabbed Marco Rios and left him bleeding out on the floor of Alexis Davis's law office. Reduced to this: a body in a bed, hooked up to tubes and wires, drifting in and out of consciousness. He opened his eyes earlier when Jocelyn was standing over him, but right now he is out cold, or at least he seems to be. Pascal approaches the bed. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't have time for a villain monologue. He just gets right to work. He reaches into his pocket. He pulls out a syringe. It is pre-filled, a clear liquid. A lethal dose of something that will stop Cullum's heart in seconds. Something untraceable, probably. Something that will make it look like Cullum just succumbed to his injuries. A tragic complication from the gunshot wound. Lucas Jones will blame himself. The hospital will write it off. It is the perfect crime. Pascal holds the syringe up to the light. Just a quick check. Then he reaches for the IV line snaking into Cullum's arm. The plastic tubing that is supposed to be delivering life-saving fluids and antibiotics, Pascal is about to turn it into a murder weapon. He finds the injection port. He uncaps the needle. His hand is steady. He is a professional. He knows what he is doing. He inserts the needle into the port. His thumb rests on the plunger. Just one push. That is all it takes. One push and Ross Cullum is history. But then It happens. The wild card. The thing you can never fully plan for. The door handle turns. The heavy door swings open, and a nurse walks in. Just a regular GH nurse, coming in to check the monitors, or empty a catheter, or whatever they do in the ICU at this hour. She steps into the room, she looks up, and she sees Pascal. She doesn't recognize him. She knows all the surgeons on staff. She knows the specialists. And she definitely knows that nobody is supposed to be injecting anything into Cullum's IV without it being on the chart. She freezes. The clipboard in her hand drops. It hits the linoleum floor with a loud clatter. The sound echoes in the quiet room. It sounds like a gunshot. Pascal freezes too. His thumb is still on the plunger. The needle is still in the port. He looks at the nurse. The nurse looks at him. It is a standoff. A terrifying, high-stakes standoff in the middle of the intensive care unit. The nurse's eyes go wide. She opens her mouth to scream, to call for help, to alert the useless cops standing right outside the door. And Pascal realizes he has a choice to make. He can run. He can drop the syringe and bolt for the door, try to lose himself in the maze of hospital corridors. But if he runs, Cullum lives. Cullum lives and Cullum talks, and Cullum will know exactly who tried to kill him. Pascal cannot let that happen. He is too deep in this now. He has crossed the point of no return. So Pascal makes his choice. He goes feral. He gets absolutely ruthless. He abandons the stealthy, untraceable poison plan. He just needs Cullum dead, right now, by any means necessary. He yanks the syringe out of the IV port. He doesn't even bother pushing the plunger. He lunges across the bed. The nurse screams. A loud, piercing scream that shatters the silence of the ICU. But Pascal doesn't care. He is moving too fast. He grabs a pillow from under Cullum's head. Or maybe he just uses his bare hands. The details are a blur of violence and desperation. He pins Cullum down. Cullum's eyes snap open. The monitors start going crazy, beeping frantically. Alarms blaring. Red lights flashing. Cullum tries to fight back. Even in his weakened post-surgical state, the WSB training kicks in. He thrashes. He reaches for Pascal, but Pascal has the advantage. He has the element of surprise. And he has pure, unadulterated desperation fueling him. The nurse is panicking. She runs toward the door, yelling for security, yelling for the cops. Pascal knows he only has seconds. Literally seconds before the room is swarming with armed guards. He presses down harder. He uses his entire body weight. He is suffocating Cullum. Or maybe he jams the lethal syringe directly into Cullum's neck in the struggle. Just a brutal, messy, violent end to a brutal, messy man. The heart monitor's frantic beeping suddenly changes pitch. It flatlines. A long, continuous, high-pitched tone. The sound of death. Pascal hears it. He knows it is done. He lets go. He steps back from the bed. Cullum's body goes limp. The WSB director is dead. For real this time. No miraculous recoveries. No last-minute saves by Lucas Jones. Ross Cullum is gone, and now Pascal has to get out. The cops are bursting through the door. The nurse is pointing at him. Chaos is erupting. Pascal doesn't hesitate. He throws a tray of surgical instruments at the cops. It crashes into them, sending scalpels and clamps flying everywhere. A distraction. It buys him exactly 1 second. He uses it to bolt past them. Out the door. Into the hallway. He is running, ripping off the white coat as he goes, tossing it into a laundry bin, blending into the panicked crowd of doctors and patients who are pouring out of their rooms to see what the commotion is about. He is a ghost. He is gone, leaving behind a dead body, a traumatized nurse, and a massive, gaping hole in the Port Charles power dynamic. Because think about what this means. Just really think about it. Jason Morgan is sitting in a WSB black site right now. He surrendered his freedom. He said goodbye to his son Danny. He broke Britt's heart. He threw his entire life away to protect Rocco Falconeri from going to prison for shooting Cullum. And now Cullum is dead anyway, murdered by a guy in a fake doctor costume. Jason's sacrifice was for nothing. Or maybe it was for everything, because now the WSB has no star witness. But they still have Jason's confession. It is a legal nightmare. Diane Miller is going to have a field day with this, but it doesn't change the fact that Jason is locked in a cage while the real monsters are running wild in the hospital. And what about Lucas? Poor, grieving Lucas. He spent hours in the OR. He had his hands inside Cullum's chest. He stopped the bleeding. He stitched up the organs. He saved the life of the man who slaughtered his boyfriend. And he didn't even know it. He just did his job. He honored his oath. And now, less than 24 hours later, his patient is murdered in his own ICU. The psychological toll this is going to take on Lucas is unimaginable. He is already broken over Marco. Now he has to deal with this massive failure on his watch, even though it wasn't his fault, even though he couldn't have stopped Pascal. Lucas is going to carry this guilt. He is going to spiral. Brad Cooper is trying to be there for him, trying to hold him together, but this might be the thing that finally breaks Lucas Jones completely. And Jen Sidwell. We cannot forget about Jen Sidwell. The man is on a warpath. He promised revenge over Marco's dead body. He blamed Sonny Corinthos. He thought Sonny ordered the hit. But what happens when he finds out Pascal killed Cullum? Does Sidwell know? Did he order Pascal to do it? Or did Pascal go rogue? If Pascal acted on his own, Sidwell is going to skin him alive. But if Sidwell ordered it, it means he figured out that Cullum killed Marco. It means the war against Sonny might be a misdirection. Or maybe Sidwell just wants everyone dead. He is unpredictable, he is grieving, he is dangerous, and he has a private army at his disposal. Port Charles is holding its breath, the body count is rising, and then there is Britt Westbourne, the woman who started all of this. Not intentionally, of course. But her Huntington's medication was the catalyst, the stolen vials, the cold fusion project, Caesar Faison's final toxic legacy reaching out from the grave to choke his daughter. Britt wanted Cullum dead. She stood in that room with a syringe of her own. She was ready to cross that line. Jocelyn was ready to cross it too. They both walked right up to the edge of murder. And now somebody else did it for them. You would think Britt would be relieved. Cullum is gone. The immediate threat is neutralized. But Britt knows better than anyone that in this world, when one monster dies, a worse one takes his place. Cullum was just a middleman. Sidwell is the real threat. And Sidwell still wants that cold fusion prototype. He still has the power to withhold her medication. Cullum's death doesn't save Britt. It just changes the rules of the game. So Pascal did it. He pulled off the impossible. He walked into a guarded hospital, murdered a high-ranking federal agent, and vanished into thin air. It is terrifying. It shows just how vulnerable everyone really is. There are no safe spaces in Port Charles. Not the police station, not the Quartermain Mansion, and definitely not General Hospital. You can be lying in an ICU bed surrounded by doctors and cops and still get snuffed out by a guy in a Halloween costume. It is raw. It is brutal. It is the reality of living in a town controlled by mobsters and spies. You never know when your time is up. You just have to hope you see it coming. But Ross Cullum didn't. He just saw a white coat, and then he saw nothing at all.